What's up, everyone? We have the beginning of what I think will be a more fun way to do Grand Arena on YouTube. I feel like other creators have been doing this for a while, but since I moved to Twitch, I know my Grand Arena presence kind of disappeared from YouTube for a bit. This is going to be, I think, a more fun way to go about it. See, I mean, if I'm being honest, this is a live recording. I'm kind of cheating this time around. I didn't have quite enough time to record this before I had to leave the house, so we're doing a recording this time. In the future, I'm just going to be with you before the battle, and then we'll use the footage from Twitch on how the fight actually went, and then we'll do another check-in as the round has ended. We'll see. Might try to record some stuff as the opponent is attacking. More likely than not, it'll usually just be the final result, just because I can't always guarantee being there whenever they're attacking, right? Time zones, life, all that good stuff. So this here is the first match, if I'm being honest. Not really even looking at the matchup screen here. The immediate context is that, doing the immediate GAC scouting, sort of the week when everything got assigned, it was pretty clear, this opponent never attacked. In fact, they always auto-posted their defense. So I thought that today was actually just going to be an auto post. There is a technique you can do if you're able to get a prime bot watch on your opponent during the start of the Grand Arena round. You can pretty much guarantee that you'll know whether or not they set their defense or not. Or you could also just check their in-game lifetime score and see if that goes up by 800 points. But yeah, straight up the past two seasons combined, they pretty much never attacked, so we already kind of knew today was already kind of going to be a win. It was just like, I guess we'll pull some team's offense. Got a little bit lucky. Shoutouts to Dylar. They knew the opponent that we were playing against, and they were able to send them a message saying, hey, this wasn't exactly what I was hoping for, but they said like, hey, can you just post the hardest defense you could think of? So, it wasn't... I was hoping for just a simulation of a normal day, whatever strategy they do. It ended up being we got some really crazy teams to fight instead. So going into this defense post, I knew kind of above anything else that we were probably going to have to house rule this. I wanted this, going into this after hearing that, I wanted this to be like, okay, I will pull some teams offense to make sure, top priority for me is hitting Chromium Week just so we can try to get some harder matches. But I did want to, make it kind of be like a simulation of a normal, right? So pulled characters that would have been on defense for offense, but at the very least, try to pretend that they weren't available yet, right? They would just be there as the safety net to ensure that we got the clear, because I had no idea what we were going to be fighting against. So on the defense side of things, I felt pretty trusting of this person, so I didn't necessarily feel the need to do anything too crazy here. But what I did end up doing is kind of just a shallow compromise. Normally I would say if you do this kind of agreement with your opponent, I would say, cover yourself a little bit, just be sure that in case they try to backstab you or something, or they agree oh yeah, I'll post everything I have on defense, I won't attack you, don't worry. That's not exactly a common situation, but if you were in that situation, I would say, don't necessarily full commit to that, or don't leave yourself open. So what I ended up doing here is I posted gas plus star 7 down bottom. Decently strong, if I'm being real. It's not really going to be the complete end of the world. I did kind of just absolutely cheese on ships. Probably wasn't really necessary, but in my mind it was maybe we could do some, Radis, or Finalizer's not really exactly in the shape it needs to be yet, but again, I was a little bit overly trusting here, but for the ship's cheese and rear, I did post a ray up front. And yeah, so if you normally are going to hold everything for offense, I would say go ahead and the full speed of this recording. Be a little bit more protected than this. I definitely posted way too much easy stuff, just in case, again, I felt them being a connection, friend of a friend, I guess you could call it. I didn't feel like there was that much risk of this happening. And it also, again, they had the past precedent of pretty much never carrying out Grand Arena before, so it would be kind of weird for them to start now. But yeah, so we post some weird stuff. Took me a really long time to decide what I didn't want to post. So normally, like if you're you're holding your like top 7 or top 8 teams, right? You just post everything below that. I wanted to try to hold everything since I was hoping today would be like some really good practice. So, you know, like I post Finn lead, I post Karth lead. Teams that I for sure wasn't gonna hold, I wanted to make sure I held on to like Imp Troopers, Geos, stuff like that. Just to, you know, just try to have whatever could be the most interesting fights for the stream. Again, I knew that they were posting, you know, going all in on D. I didn't know exactly what shape that was gonna take. There's a lot of that could take a lot of different shapes to a lot of different people, right? So, you know, aside from Gas, DR, and Ray, you see we dropped the Night Sisters. I don't even remember who I did for this last team. And then in the rear we had the Karth and the Finn lead. So, you know, I would say I was particularly vulnerable here. If they did decide to like take this one seriously, it would have been too hard to drop a GL, drop 2 power B teams, and then they would have just had like literally they could like solo those fleets, for example, right? It would have been pretty devastating. I wasn't really how today went, so I'm not really gonna worry too much about that. And then yeah, I think for the final team I just posted like some junk around mass draft since I didn't expect to need crew with SLK on offense. That was it. So nothing too fancy on defense here. Obviously not really a normal match, so a little bit unfortunate on the circumstances. Yeah, we went into offense. Unfortunately, in this replay, you will see I am in front of myself. There was some weird issues with OBS at the time because I changed my Twitch name, so I used a different scene that didn't have the camera hidden for the replay or for the recording. So there's gonna be a little bit of double vision. Just, I'm the real one. Hello, I'm talking to you. So moving into offense here, we saw some pretty crazy things immediately. You know, like I didn't post Mon Mothma on defense because I wanted to try Mon Mothma against Grievous with only 1 tank this evening. I've had some ideas and prepped them a little bit for this matchup. That was a insanely fast Watt Tambor and a Grievous that was health modded. He actually had a health triangle instead of a crit damage triangle. So Watt was already going to be pretty much not going to be happening for Mon Mothma, as well as the extra health on Grievous, plus Watt's unique giving Grievous extra protection. That also just felt like Beskar Mando wasn't really going to be able to guarantee getting the full kill on him either. So kind of just immediately going off of the teams we were seeing already, it was like, you know, I was hoping for like, just like a big practice match this evening. Was definitely, I mean, hey, GG Watt was the right call, I think, from his part of just like the hardest defense possible. Unfortunately, it also just kind of put me in a position very, very quickly where I did kind of feel like we just needed to, I wouldn't necessarily say overkill, but there wasn't really a whole lot that we could have done otherwise. Like maybe like a JKR fight against GG Watt. But JKR is normally, you know, we saw Supreme Leader Kylo team up top. JKR is going there, so there weren't really a whole lot of options. You know, maybe if we had DR on offense, then we could have had like a DR trying to break GG Watt, you get the death mark on him or something and play it out from there. Even that's like kind of whatever. But like, you know, EP BSF, right? That might have been open or something. We do have a fast BSF. I did post her on defense as kind of like, you know, kind of protecting myself, but also house rule. So like EP BSF as the normal breaker to that wasn't really going to work. And because he had enough protection that the Magna Guard was going to get the tank tech instead of B2, then yeah, I just didn't really see it happening overall. So yeah, first things first here, we had the crazy Jedi team to deal with. And to me at this point, it was like, you know, we could have tried something Vader related, but it was actually a fast gas, 300 base speed gas. So the Outlook's turn meter and everything just felt like it was going to be, you know, that my Vader isn't that fast. Gas being 340 was going to outprice him. So to me, it didn't really seem worth trying to do anything else. And I knew the banners weren't going to be great here, especially Sith Assassin. She is not built for this type of job. Let's say, you know, 1 F-Lix and she's already near death being Relic 0. But yeah, I just knew, you know, Eternal Emperor would walk out with this fight. We maybe could have tried to the Eternal Emperor plus Watt, but I wanted to try to hold Watt in case there was a more interesting fight in rear that we could have possibly held him for. So, I mean, this was basically just a fight from Arena, but with Sith Assassin instead of a more meaningful 5th. I mean, usually I have like Malik here or Watt in here in Arena. So yeah, I mean, this fight was pretty straightforward. I don't think there was a whole lot interesting to cover here. Mostly just, you know, trading off Sith to keep heal spamming everyone, get Eternal Emperor to ult pretty quickly. You know, we have the link on Gas to make sure that he's not critting anyone. I was a little bit surprised at how kind of sketchy this almost got. Our Nihilus is pretty beefcake, but he was on death's doorstep for a little bit there. So we lose Treya fairly early. Kind of normally, but also I believe we did hit the equivalent increase on Luke, so we didn't actually get the debuffs until right there. The Nihilus wasn't actually stacking up as much health, and Treya wasn't getting as much bonus protection as she normally would have. So at this point, you know, this is Eternal Emperor in the matchup just popping off. Pretty much done from there. Not really a whole nuanced matchup. There wasn't really a whole lot to discuss here, I would say. Nihilus did finally reach, I would say, probably close to his full potential, but what are you gonna do? 48 for the win. Not exactly great, but it's fine enough. So moving on to the next fight, we had a pretty standard JKR JKL up against SLK. Wasn't really any, you know, it wasn't tanky Sith Trooper. It wasn't really Tenacity Hux or anything. We hit pretty much all the good RNG across the board that we could. Yeah, you know, I think the main thing to talk about here is kind of what I'm hoping for with the new General Kenobi, or Master Kenobi, I guess. Sorry, I'm so used to the General title. This is new. But yeah, if we could potentially get a Old Ben requirement out of that, you know, as straightforward as this fight was for the most part, it was kind of revealing, and still kind of is, that I wouldn't mind an excuse to take Old Ben to higher relics, right? This fight for the most part played out pretty normally. You know, you always kind of land on this turn where it's like, I don't really want to swap to Luke and lose his buffs, but we do kind of need to close out quickly. You know, always kind of a weird situation going on there. But, you know, for the most part, you get to this point, and like, we're already pretty much down to the last stand, right? We've got an Old Ben with defense up with taunts, and this is a Relic 5, like, not really even that tanky modded Old Ben. You can imagine, you know, if he gets required to Relic 7 or Relic 8, we could definitely be walking out of this fight with everyone else with full protection. Old Ben, not gonna be full protection or even full health, but at least would be left alive for slightly better banners than what we walk out for here. So yeah, a 57 could easily be 58, maybe if we're lucky 59. You get some healing on them before the very end. Definitely would not mind the excuse or opportunity to take that. But otherwise, yeah, pretty simple JK or JKL. Took the early mark on Hux. Not really any special modding or anything to force us out. So yeah, we move straight on in. I think I kind of begrudgingly knew that this was probably going to have to be just a kind of Kylo cheap shot, because I didn't really want to use Kylo for what I assume will be the Eternal Emperor hiding in the rear, staying in the shadows. The one thing I wasn't sure on is if there would be any real reason here to be scared of Watts for like a Kylo solo. You know, Newt can kind of cause some, not really SLK timeout issues, but the fight can take a while, and depending on how you're modded, also could very well timeout. I know some people have struggled with that. You know, with the Watt assist, the Terminator removal on top of the Grievous lead Terminator removal, I wasn't really sure how, you know, how much respect to put on it, let's say. So I did kind of opt to just take in a full Kylo team here. Complete overkill fight. I'm not really gonna, you know, I don't think there's a whole lot to discuss here. One that did shock me. This is a speed sick Kylo. That Grievous just almost dies in one hit. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, character pretty good. Who knew? Kylo Ren, a strong character. Yeah, you know, the full 5-man was overkill. We could have gotten better banners, but I figured we'll just take it as is. And there's the Eternal Emperor. Not really any crazy speeds on the DR. It's a little bit, you know, in terms of like practice I was hoping for as well. I have been kind of working on my Grievous mods a bit. Made a tankier Magna Guard just to try to make Grievous against CLS a little bit tighter. Didn't quite, you know, Kara is definitely an easier version of that team. So, yeah, it was not the best simulation in general, since C-3PO was up with Padme up top, and C-3PO wasn't really going to make Beskar Mando's job any harder as well. So yeah, there wasn't really any concerning speed here for the unethical unit, the new man in town, the Dark Trooper. So pretty much just immediately took him in. We got the whole Gideon Death Trooper locking locked correctly, but this is pretty much always going to play out the same way. The one issue that I've had with this counter is deciding who I want to blow up first, just because, God, especially I took this choice, and it looked so absurdly juicy here. I took the Dark Trooper punch on Darth Revan. We got the early equalize on Eternal Emperor, and Eternal Emperor is a health-based character. Like, if he's on normal health stack modding, we just did, like, his health is 75% of his total pool, and we just did 75% of that. I chickened out on stream. Not spoilers or whatever. I wanted to hit this so badly. Like, I guarantee you that this would have killed him. Actually, I think the one reason why I didn't want to do this here is because, you know, Veers is Relic 5 now. He does have offense up, and I think I even gave him crit damage set since he's, you know, his speed doesn't really matter at all. This was kind of bait. If Veers AoE got the kill shot on Darth Revan, then Eternal Emperor would have healed. If Darth Revan wasn't that low, though, this would have been a really hilarious cheat code to just, like, cheat out an insanely early Eternal Emperor kill. The DR equalize just doing an unholy amount of damage, let's say, for free for us, just to try to keep himself alive. You get to Veers' turn, you decide, okay, probably time to just play it like a normal human being from there. I looked longingly at this Eternal Emperor for a second, but yes, we do take the kill shot that we're supposed to take. I believe we even hit the multi-Dark Trooper call with Piet basic RNG, just because we're especially good players who always get the good RNG. Because everyone's full turn meter, and because the Eternal Emperor can't have his turn meter removed, no real point hitting the Mass Assist, plus Dark Trooper can't be Mass Assisted anyway. Or, Darth Revan can't be Mass Assisted. And then, yeah, from this point, we're pretty much set and done for the kill. Probably arguably should have done the Death Mark on Darth Revan instead. I don't think it was really going to ultimately matter. Either way, I knew that we had enough offense that if we barely miss the kill on him with, you know, let's say 4 to 8 Emperor's Trap stacks, then for sure we were going to get the Dark Trooper. God, there's so many D's and R's and T's trooper names. I swear I can't get this right anymore. The Dark Trooper basic was definitely going to one-shot that Revan there, so I kind of had everyone else poking at Eternal Emperor early just to try to get some good progress. But yeah, I just want to see I was talking over it. The Mass Assists. Dark Trooper almost one-shot his entire health pool in one go. And yeah, simple 60. This, I should probably just pause and explain myself instead of showing the fight. Geos against Rey is something that I've known has been possible for a long time. It's more of a punish for bad or passive Rey teams. Specifically, a good example would be classic traditional full-blown Scoundrels Rey. You will see very quickly, this is not actual Scoundrels Rey. This is R2-D2, but more importantly, Barriss. The Barriss was basically going to guarantee that this fight was never going to be won. Because we knew that today was an auto win, for whatever reason, I just talked to myself, I just wanted to try the fight anyway and just see how far I could get. It was kind of a waste, wasn't really a point in doing it. But I think most importantly, I don't think this fight is technically impossible. The biggest issue just being that my Geos are not the highest quality, let's say. So the one way that we would have had to play this fight a little bit better is playing around Rey's second lifeblood. You will see at this exact moment, Rey's about to go again, is about to give someone else lifeblood, and she will always give lifeblood to the person, to her ally, who is the lowest combined health and protection at that given moment. So at this specific point in gameplay, we know Barriss needs to die before we can go for the kill on Rey, because Barriss is a complete jerk. And we also know that Rey is about to give it out. You know, I wasn't really taking this fight incredibly seriously on stream, but we do start to hit Barriss and do damage to her, and then just immediately there's a lifeblood punish, and this fight is just immediately over. Barriss is dying. This team isn't winning. I don't see much point in showing the rest. yeah, I would love an opportunity to make my Geos better. Also, realistically, well, there's a new GL coming soon. I don't think, who knows? Maybe CG will toss me a bone and Geos requirements will happen somewhere in there. I don't think that's going to be the case. Hot take. Unless Geos were members of the Jedi Council that we weren't aware of. And then I do the thing it's normally going to do anyway. We just walk in with the normal JML cam. And yeah, was a pretty normal fight as well. One thing I would maybe shout out is that this Rey did have a Create Image Triangle, and we will see it in a little bit. It does get a little bit scary and spicy for us. I did clock my Grimace Yoda to be 1 speed faster than Shaak Ti. It's completely unnecessary for this counter, but it does allow you to get the taunt dispelled at the start of the fight without wasting a Jedi Lessons turn. It's a very small optimization, but it's one that I've been enjoying doing if I can. Just fun to have an excuse to do it, because it just makes that fight. I hate, like, considering that Jedi Lessons is our ult mechanic. To me, it was just going to feel really bad to waste a turn doing Shaak Ti basic. So we had Rey who was about to go into ult, and we had her at like 52% health. So instead of popping JML ult there, I just went ahead and got her to 50% health so that we activate her lead, get that heal out of the way while she's invulnerable, and then the moment that that was done, we could, you know, get to business. So we get Yoda to full Terminator, spread out the protection up to everyone just to soak a little bit of damage. And we get out of Rey ult looking, you know, pretty fine here. We got the ult now, so we have the full taunt ignore. Was a little bit guilty. I'm not used to fighting Rey with Barriss that often. It did take me a little bit longer than it probably should have to realize, hey, we're not making progress here. Call Cam, and Cam just immediately one-shots her. Just no regard for his former colleague at all there. And then we get the, let's say, the scary Rey Whirlwind that, you know, even though she isn't targeting Yoda, if the Whirlwind move kills anyone at all, even with the AoE, that Yoda was not going to be coming back. So I don't think he has perfect health modding. Health is just in such extreme demand these days that we cut some corners, let's say. So yeah, we did land at this final spot here. Damage immunity is a resource for you sometimes when you're at this, you know, the final stage of the fight here. And I knew that, you know, our banners are in pretty rough shape right now. I don't think anyone, maybe Yoda, has full protection right now. So we need this damage immunity to last, actually. So yeah, this suddenly became a little mini game here of we need to stall this fight out as long as possible. Keep removing his Terminator to give Shaak Ti time to patch everyone up. So already we kind of spread out lessons enough that everyone was looking in pretty okay shape. We were very fortunate that IG-11 got locked above 50% health, which meant that Yoda would get the extra 40% Terminator for the assist calls on him. But you can see, you know, minute 30 left on the clock, and everyone's already looking pretty good. And the Kiaremundi turn swap especially was very, very nice for keeping everyone going. So JML with the low cooldown F-Flix. We were pretty much, you know, 1 minute 15 left on the clock. We were already pretty much one Shaak Ti heal away, so just a matter of spam calling her as much as possible, get Yoda cycling as much as possible just to get the Terminator reductions, and yeah, we're already pretty much home free. One more turn, have Shaak Ti call herself, just give herself speed up. And there we go. Took a little bit to get there, but a solid, clean looking 60. Well, 40. Would have been a 60 if I didn't chase my Geos fight on a win there. So we had this Padme team up north with a C-3PO. Traditionally was the harder version of this counter, but for the most part, I felt pretty confident that Beskar Mando wasn't going to care. The one exception that I wasn't sure of was that Padme would use a special and would get translation, which would give her 30% health. So I wasn't quite sure if my Beskar Mando was going to be able to take her out, but I was mostly just curious, you know, kind of like a stress testing, a little bit of testing. What's he capable of? The other thing that I made an immediate mistake on is I had actually planned to not run Kara in this team anymore with Locke. You know, like I said, I was prepping my Mon Mothma team to go against Grievous. So Kara being fast is a part of that game plan. So that she can drop the early basic on Newt and get our Terminator train going. Yeah. You're using Beskar Mando. She's not supposed to go here. You're supposed to do Beskar Mando, Whistling Birds first. Ran into this turn, it was like, this is not great. Yeah, wasn't a great sign. Normally I plan to run Veteran Han here instead. The thing I was worried about though is we're going to be doing IG-11 AoE before Veteran Han, and if IG-11 AoE crits people, then Veteran Han's AoE ability block just does nothing. Right, it kind of loses its value. So Kara was kind of just a more appealing option for me here. Plus, we knew that we weren't going to be using Mon Mothma today anyway. So this was a pretty relicked out Padme team as well. I believe a relicate Ahsoka and Anakin. A full-blown Pilots fan overall. But yeah, so we did end up getting Kara. You know, because Kara's faster than Beskar Mando, she got an extra turn. We got our 20 birds, and it was enough. Anakin was kind enough to drop his hit on the one person who was probably most qualified to take it, Nest being pretty comfortable, even though she was full turn meter, did have a good amount of bonus protection to her name. And from here, the fight kind of stabilizes, and yeah, it's mostly just a matter of waiting for Beskar Mando. For the life of me, I still don't understand why the AI seems to love hitting IG-11 so much, even when he's not taunting. Literally the character with the, like, some of the only automatic protection regen in this entire game, and they still just love to do it anyway. I still feel like there's room for this fight to get messy in a way that you would like to not see happen, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't happened yet. The AI just seems to love hitting IG-11 in a way that, I mean, it works out for us, right? We'll take it, but it still just feels a little bit weird. Like, this fight is more successful than it should be. But yeah. So yeah, just waiting on Queel to get everyone's banners patched back up. One more equalize and another round from Queel. Just kind of considering doing the nuke on C-3PO just to buy us some time to get extra protection banners back. You know, because once GK is down, that's kind of just the end of the fight. And we don't have a way to hit C-3PO now to stall otherwise. We were kind of just on GK, and at this point in the fight, Nest kind of loses her ability to relax and not stall. The best we can do is use her special to hit the foresight, which isn't really doing us a whole lot of favors here. So at this point, we're just spamming buttons. The equalize pretty much already got us back there, and I believe we just go for the big old Nest finish. Pretty simple 60. The C-3PO didn't really impact us there. So yeah, final fight of the night, at least on the ground, we had the Grievous up against CLS. CLS without C-3PO is just such a less scary animal at this point that it just wasn't really a real simulation. We did get the lucky Newt shot first, which pretty much, as always, is going to make your Grievous versus CLS experience 10 times better. Call it good RNG, because it is basically just a 50-50 coin flip. As well as we do have the potency cross on Grievous to give the hopeful extra target lock consistency. So we hit the 4 out of 5. Already, this is just a fantastic position in this fight to be in. Already feeling very, very good about our odds of running away with this fight. This fight is all just a struggle about getting target lock established. And to that end as well, I did focus on boosting up my B1's base potency. He actually has a really, really solid base too, but with some focus secondaries, I believe I have him up to about, I want to say 125 to 130%, you know, before Grievous Lead starts stacking him even higher. That's enough to try to contest like Tenacity Chewies and stuff like that. And B1 ends up being a pretty common source of trying to get that extra target lock spread out and established over the course of the fight. So that, to me, you know, in this fight, I'm not really worried that much about our damage output until at least Chewie dies, right? But like once you've got the AoE target lock spread out, your Terminator train is just going to keep going, right? So yeah, other than that, another big change that I made is I actually moved my own Grievous personally over to a health triangle from crit damage, because, you know, if you look at this team, early on especially, you're not really going to be critting the people that you care about. It is going to be less damage on Chewie, let's say, as you're trying to get the kill shot on him and kind of take control over the end of the fight. But it does, however, mean that we are going to get a little bit more consistent damage with the non-crits. More importantly, though, it means that we will have a tankier Grievous, and I have had a very determined CLS actually just straight up kill my Grievous before. Even as I was heal spamming him, you know, they just hit the right sequence of exposes, they have enough damage. I have had my Grievous just drop entirely. So to make up for that extra potency cross, definitely getting that extra health on Grievous. I'm very, very curious to see how it's going to play out over the course of this season. Hopefully we get some real CLS fight testing just to see how things go. Yeah, this is a negotiator fight. I believe it's posted with 5s, so certainly a lot easier. I was a little bit concerned about, possible, do we hit the buff immunity on their 5s or not? For the most part, goes pretty well for us. I mean, this is pretty standard. We all know fleets at this point. We do hit the buff immunity. And I honestly kind of started to forget how this fight is played just because it's been... I almost feel more comfortable fighting as Rex at this point. But yeah, we hit the buff immunity, so his stealth gets denied. I can pretty much just immediately take him out, and the rest of this fight kind of plays out typically there. Don't really have anything interesting to add. It ships. I mean, once ETA is dead, this fight's mostly just about I mean, you can't even say triage and cleanup. Like, Galactic Republic has that. Like, if you're driving Negotiator, you get that with Rex. But this is just kill him. Just take him out. Just do the thing. Getting very close. Kind of unfortunate to leave him this low because him being this low is going to bring out the Plo Koon. I just kind of unnecessarily stalled the fight out a little bit longer than if we had brought out someone, or if they had brought out something like a Clone Sergeant or like an Ahsoka ship. So, trying to get our overcharge established back up. Even more days, even more fights stall out. We are kind of there enough that we were able to just chip him out. Our overcharge was kind of in the 4s and 5s. And that's kind of what we were hoping for. If we had gotten Ahsoka instead of Plo Koon, I think we already could have been out of this fight. Maybe even taking less banner damage as well. But a 61 is usually what I expect out of this. And a 61 I will take. Last but not least, pretty standard Malevolence fleets, pretty standard GR response. This was also just kind of, whatever. If anything, I'll probably just fast forward. And Negotiator versus Malevolence is pretty comfy with the standard arena comp, so. I think the one thing I did kind of make a mistake on here towards the end is I did kind of close this fight out quickly. I don't even remember if I brought out Rex or not. I think I ended up not bringing him out. And we did kind of walk away with worse banners here than it should have been. There is kind of a call to try to stall this fight out a bit. Let Rex patch up some banners here. I just go for the Master's finish instead. A 63 I would say is pretty low for Negotiator on offense these days, at least in my experience. So yeah, we do walk out with a 2088, which is definitely on the low end. Consequence of tossing in a Geos team into the Ray blender just because I wanted to see what it felt like. Not the best reason, but we knew today was a simple win, so I just wanted to make sure that we had a little bit of fun along the way, considering most of the comps were kind of, they basically just forced our hand, right? We kind of had to do what we had to do to get it done. That Grievous comp especially pretty much just forced Kylo out, which, Grievous mod was always something I was interested in. It was something I tried to sneak in last season, at least in the history. Not as a long-term comp plan, but just even the threat alone could make you pause for a well-built Grievous team, because it suddenly makes so many cheap comps kind of priced out, with the exception of maybe EPBS stuff, but DR kind of being a defense favorite these days is also a little bit, less common to be able to have. So, everything else was kind of on autopilot. Like, this entire zone was pretty much solved from the word go. We already kind of knew what our game plan was. Yeah, it was mostly just this zone, and then the CLS comp being a little bit weaker in rear, as well as Imp Troopers kind of already being the traditional Emperor one. Not as good of a practice, I guess you could say, but that's also just being like an insane choosy beggar, right? Considering that we were supposed to be, like, normally we would have been fighting against Autopost today. At the very least, I think this made for a good amount of fun, definitely a more entertaining stream, for sure. And then last but not least, surprise, as advertised, they're not really in Galaxy Heroes for the Grand Arena. They didn't really attack either, so nothing really to talk about here. It's gonna be a segment of the future in other battles, but for today, shout out to T-Pain for being a good sport about this. I think most of the time when people don't care about Grand Arena, they wouldn't really want to put in the effort, but they were willing to post us some stuff to play with. So yeah, much appreciated. And that'll be it for today. So that's the first one. Not exactly the most interesting. Like there wasn't really a whole lot to break down. But I thought my defense and you know, kind of in general. But you know, I think we definitely have some good stuff coming up ahead. And yeah. Apologies for the delay on the last season, or not even delay. I think at this point we're just gonna move forward with this format. It would be almost impossible to. No, it would literally be impossible to do this with the past 3v3 season because of literally not having access to those boards anymore. But yeah, I think this should be fun. There's a lot of spicy stuff I have planned for this 5v5 season, so hopefully get a good excuse or some good matches to showcase it in. We'll see. All right, thank you all for watching. See you all for the next one. Have a good one.